is a whisper in your blood, a silent hum beneath the surface of your skin, a language older than civilization itself, etched into the very fabric of your being. It is not merely biological, it is alchemical. Your DNA, that spiraling ladder of life, is far more than a blueprint for your physical form. It is an encrypted manuscript, a cosmic cipher waiting to be decoded. And within it lies a power so profound, so untapped, that to glimpse its truth is to stand at the threshold of what ancient mystics called God mode, the awakened state where human potential transcends all perceived limits. But what does it mean to unlock this code? And why has this knowledge been veiled, scattered across esoteric traditions, buried in myth, and whispered only in the most guarded of initiatory circles? The answer is as old as time itself. Because to awaken this force is to remember what you truly are. Not just flesh and bone, not merely a fleeting consciousness in a temporary body, but a living conduit of divine intelligence, a fractal of the infinite, a being capable of reshaping reality itself. Modern science tells us that DNA is a passive archive, a static instruction manual. But the ancients, the Egyptian hierophants, the Vedic rishis, the alchemists of old, spoke of it as living light, a dynamic field of information that responds to thought, emotion, and intention. They knew what we have forgotten, that the body is not a machine, but a temple, and within its deepest chambers lies the key to transcendence. Consider this. Every cell in your body hums with bioelectricity, a subtle current that mirrors the vibrational patterns of the cosmos. Your DNA is not just a molecule, it is an antenna, tuning into frequencies beyond the physical. The double helix is a sacred geometry, a reflection of the caduceus, the serpentine symbol of enlightenment. And just as the serpent sheds its skin, so too can you shed the illusions that bind you to a lesser version of yourself. Who, or what, encoded this knowledge into us? Some point to the gods of old, the Nephilim, or the Anunnaki of Sumerian lore, who allegedly tampered with human genetics. Others speak of a divine source, a primordial intelligence that imprinted its own essence into the very structure of life. But the most startling possibility is this: you did. Not the you that walks this earth today, but the greater you, the eternal consciousness that exists beyond time, that chose this incarnation as part of a grand experiment in self-discovery. If that is true, then the so-called junk DNA, the 97% of our genetic material that science has yet to fully understand, is not junk at all. It is dormant code, waiting for the right sequence of inner and outer triggers to activate. And those triggers are not chemical, they are consciousness itself. Across the world, a silent revolution is unfolding. People are experiencing spontaneous healings, inexplicable psychic expansions, and sudden shifts in perception. Some call it Kundalini awakening, others Christ consciousness. But beneath the labels lies the same truth. The DNA is responding. The veil is thinning. The hidden code is being accessed, not by external technology, but by an inner remembering. This is not mere speculation. Russian scientists like Dr. Pyotr Gurdjieff have demonstrated that DNA can be reprogrammed by language, by sound, by frequency, by intention. The ancients knew this. They used mantras, sacred chants, and harmonic resonance to alter their very biology. The question is, are you ready to do the same? What follows is not just information, it is an invitation, an initiation into the most guarded secret of your existence, that you are not human seeking divinity, you are divinity experiencing humanity. And the key to remembering this lies coiled within you, waiting for the moment you dare to turn the lock. The path ahead will unravel the core themes of this hidden science, the symbolic narratives that have carried this truth through millennia, and the practical steps to activate what has always been yours. But first, you must ask yourself, do I truly wish to remember? For once this door is opened, there is no going back. There is a story written in the language of your cells, older than words, deeper than myth. It speaks of a time before time, when the boundaries between flesh and spirit were thin, when gods walked among men, and when humanity itself was something far more fluid, more luminous than the creatures we have become. This is not fantasy. It is memory. and the remnants of that forgotten knowledge still linger in the silent spaces between your genes, in the untapped potential of your so-called junk DNA, in the electromagnetic whispers of your biofield. To understand the hidden code within you is to grasp the fundamental architecture of existence itself, because you are not separate from the cosmos. You are its living echo. Modern biology sees DNA as a static blueprint, a set of instructions passed down through generations. But ancient esoteric traditions, from the Egyptian mysteries to the Hindu Vedas, spoke of it as something far more dynamic, a receiver and transmitter of cosmic intelligence. The double helix is not merely a biological structure. It is a fractal antenna, designed to tune into frequencies beyond the material world. Consider this. Every strand of your DNA emits biophotons, tiny particles of light. Russian scientists like Dr. Vladimir Poponin discovered that DNA exerts a measurable influence on the quantum vacuum, bending light itself. What does this mean? That your genetic code is not just read by your cells. It communicates with the fabric of reality. And if that is true, then the question becomes, what frequencies are you tuned to? For decades, mainstream science dismissed 97% of our DNA as junk, evolutionary debris with no function. But what if the opposite were true? What if this junk is actually higher dimensional code, waiting for the right conditions to activate? The implications are staggering. Ancient texts speak of initiations, rituals, meditations, and sacred substances that could turn on dormant strands of DNA, unlocking latent abilities like telepathy, regeneration, and even conscious control over matter. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Hindu Vedas, and the esoteric Christian texts all hint at this, that humanity was once more than human, and that we can be so again. Modern research is catching up. Epigenetics has proven that genes can be switched on or off by environmental factors, emotions, and even belief. If thoughts and intentions can alter genetic expression, then the old alchemical axiom, as above, so below, takes on a terrifyingly literal meaning. In nearly every ancient tradition, the serpent is a symbol of hidden wisdom and transformative power. The Egyptians revered the uraeus, the coiled serpent on the pharaoh's crown. The Hindus spoke of kundalini, the dormant serpentine energy at the base of the spine that, when awakened, ascends through the body, unlocking higher states of consciousness. Even the caduceus, the medical symbol of two serpents entwined around a staff, mirrors the double helix of DNA. This is no coincidence. The serpent is not just a metaphor, it is a biological reality. The human nervous system is an electrical network, and when certain dormant energies are activated, they create a surge of bioelectricity that can rewire the brain and body. Those who have experienced a true Kundalini awakening report sudden healings, heightened perception, and even temporary genetic mutations. Is this the God mode hidden in our DNA? A state where the body and mind operate at frequencies beyond ordinary human limits? If DNA is a receiver, then language, in its purest, most vibrational form, is the key to reprogramming it. Dr. Pyotr Garjajev's experiments in Russia demonstrated that DNA responds to sound waves and linguistic patterns, meaning that mantras, sacred chants, and even focused intention can alter genetic expression. The ancients knew this. The Hindu Om, the Egyptian Heka, the Hebrew Shem HaMephorash. These were not just prayers, but genetic activation codes. Even modern science is now exploring wave genetics, the idea that DNA can be modified through frequency alone. What does this mean for you? That your words, your thoughts, your beliefs are not just abstract concepts. They are living commands being sent to your cells. If this power is real, then why has it been suppressed? Why is it relegated to mystery schools, occulted in symbols, and dismissed by mainstream science? The answer is as old as civilization itself: control. A sleeping humanity is easier to govern. A species that forgets its own divinity will not seek to reclaim it. But the veil is lifting. The information is resurfacing, because the time for remembering has come. Every myth is a mirror. Not a lie, not a mere story, but a reflection of something deeper, something coded into the collective memory of humanity itself. The ancients did not speak in riddles to confuse us. They spoke in symbols because some truths cannot be contained in ordinary words. They must be felt, glimpsed in the spaces between the lines, awakened in the silent chambers of the soul. And so, if we are to truly understand the hidden code within our DNA, the divine architecture coiled in our cells, we must turn to the myths that have carried this knowledge across millennia. These are not just tales. They are activation sequences. The story is universal. Humanity once lived in a state of grace, in direct communion with the divine, until something happened. A fall. A separation. In the Bible, it was the eating of the forbidden fruit. In Sumerian texts, it was the manipulation of humanity by the Anunnaki. In the Hindu tradition, it was the descent from the Satya Yuga, the age of truth, into darker, denser ages. But what if this fall was not just spiritual, but biological? What if it was a literal alteration of human DNA, a suppression of our original luminous potential? The Gnostic texts speak of the archons, shadowy forces that feed on human ignorance and seek to keep us trapped in a cycle of forgetfulness. The Bible's tree of knowledge may not have been a mere metaphor. It could represent genetic enlightenment, a reclaiming of our full cognitive and spiritual capacities. And the serpent who offered its fruit, perhaps not a deceiver, but a liberator, a symbol of the Kundalini force that awakens the sleeping code within us. In ancient Egypt, the Bennu bird, later known to the Greeks as the phoenix, was a symbol of cyclical rebirth. It would die in flames, only to rise anew from its own ashes. This was not just a poetic image of resurrection, it was a biological allegory. Certain species on Earth, like the axolotl salamander, can regenerate entire limbs, organs, even parts of their brain. Humans possess this capacity in dormant form. Traces of it linger in our DNA, switched off by evolutionary pressures, or some say by deliberate suppression. The phoenix myth may be a coded message, that our bodies are capable of far more than we've been led to believe, if only we could reactivate the lost sequences within us. For centuries, knights and seekers hunted the Holy Grail, said to grant eternal life or divine wisdom. Most assume it was a physical cup. But what if the Grail was never an object at all? In esoteric traditions, the Grail represents the sacred lineage, not just a bloodline of kings, but the genetic lineage of awakened beings. The cup is the human vessel itself, the body, and the blood is the luminous intelligence encoded in DNA. The Grail quest, then, becomes an inner journey, the search for the lost keys to our own divine inheritance. This is why the Templars and other secret societies guarded certain mysteries so fiercely. They were not just protecting relics, they were preserving the knowledge of how to awaken the Grail within. Plato spoke of Atlantis, an advanced civilization destroyed by its own hubris. The Vedas describe Vimanas, flying machines powered by an energy called mercury vortex propulsion. The Great Pyramid's design suggests an understanding of cosmic mathematics far beyond what conventional history allows. What if these were not fantasies, but fragments of a lost science, one that understood DNA as programmable light? The Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus declares, "As above, so below." Could this mean that our DNA is a microcosm of the macrocosm, a living antenna that, when properly tuned, can access higher dimensions of existence? Joseph Campbell's hero's journey is not just a storytelling template. It is a spiritual algorithm, a map for the transformation of consciousness. The hero is called to adventure, faces trials, receives hidden knowledge, and returns, transformed. This is the same process that occurs when dormant DNA is activated. The call is the awakening of intuition. The trials are the purging of old genetic imprints, traumas, limiting beliefs, inherited patterns. The elixir the hero brings back? It is the recoded self, the body and mind operating at a higher frequency. Your life, then, is not just a series of random events. It is an initiation. Every challenge, every moment of suffering or revelation is a potential trigger in the grand sequence of your awakening. For millennia, the sacred feminine, the intuitive, receptive, creative force, has been suppressed. This is not just a cultural tragedy, It may be a genetic one. Science now recognizes that mitochondrial DNA, the energy powerhouses of our cells, is passed down only through the mother. The feminine lineage carries a unique coding, one that Western esotericism links to the Sophia principle, the wisdom that balances the rational mind. The rise of the divine feminine in our era is not just a social movement, it is a biological necessity for the next stage of human evolution. To activate the full potential of our DNA, we must restore this balance within ourselves, the marriage of logic and intuition, science and spirit. The greatest truths are useless if they remain abstract. What good is knowing about the hidden potential in your DNA if you cannot feel it, use it, live it? This is where the rubber meets the road, where cosmic theory becomes grounded in the sweat and breath of daily existence. You are not just learning about the hidden code within you, you are activating it. And the process is not some distant mystical ritual reserved for Himalayan monks. It is happening right now, in the way you think, breathe, speak, and move through the world. Your body is not a machine to be optimized. It is a living temple, and every choice you make either reinforces the illusion of separation or aligns you with your higher design. Food as frequency. The ancients spoke of prana, chi, mana, the subtle energy in food that goes beyond calories. Modern science confirms that certain foods, like raw cacao, blueberries, and medicinal mushrooms, contain compounds that upregulate longevity genes and repair DNA. But it's not just what you eat, it's how. Eating with gratitude in a state of presence signals safety to your cells, shifting them out of survival mode and into regeneration. Water as memory. Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments showed that water crystallizes into beautiful or distorted patterns based on the energy it's exposed to: words, music, intention. Since your body is 60% water, imagine the impact of the thoughts you feed it. Structured water, from natural springs or vortex-charged vessels, may help restore your biofield's coherence. Movement as alchemy. Yoga, qigong, and even rhythmic walking are not just exercises. They are genetic activation practices. The slow intentional movements of Tai Chi, for example, have been shown to upregulate over 500 genes linked to immunity and stress resilience. Every spiritual tradition has its sacred sounds. Om, Amen, Hum, because sound is the primordial tool for reshaping reality. Mantras as code. The Hindu Gayatri Mantra, the Egyptian Heka incantations, even Gregorian chants. These are not arbitrary. They are frequency keys, designed to vibrate specific parts of the brain and DNA. Repeating them daily can begin to defrag distorted cellular memory. Solfeggio frequencies. The 528 Hz frequency, known as the love frequency, has been shown to repair DNA in lab studies. Playing these tones during meditation or sleep may facilitate healing at the genetic level. Your own voice. The most powerful tool is your voice. Speaking affirmations with conviction, like, "I am whole, I am free," creates a vibrational signature that your cells must respond to. Bruce Lipton's research in epigenetics proved that genes are not your destiny. Your environment, internal and external, determines which genes express. And the most potent environmental factor? Your beliefs. The placebo and nocebo effect. If you believe a sugar pill is medicine, your DNA responds as if it is. If you believe you are doomed to inherit your family's illnesses, you likely will. The question is, what stories have you been telling your cells? Shadow work as genetic clearing. Traumas, especially ancestral ones, leave epigenetic markers, chemical tags on your DNA that can silence or activate genes. Practices like inner child work, psychedelic therapy, or even expressive writing can begin to clear these blocks. Visualization as future memory. Athletes use mental rehearsal to prime their bodies for peak performance. Why? Because the brain doesn't distinguish between vivid imagination and reality. Visualize yourself healthy, radiant, sovereign, and your cells will follow. Your DNA is not isolated. It is in constant dialogue with the people around you, exchanging energy, information, even genetic material, via exosomes. Toxic versus nourishing connections. Studies show that prolonged exposure to negative people weakens telomeres, the protective caps on DNA linked to aging. Conversely, loving relationships lengthen them. Who you allow into your energy field matters on a genetic level. The power of touch. Hugging for 20+ seconds releases oxytocin, which repairs DNA damage. Massage therapy has been shown to upregulate mitochondrial function. The lesson? Isolation is genetic suicide. Collective awakening. As more people activate higher consciousness, the field effect makes it easier for others to do the same. Your personal healing ripples into the collective genome. When you start aligning with your higher code, the universe sends confirmations, repeating numbers, chance encounters, serendipitous messages. These are not coincidences. They are resonance markers, signs that your inner and outer worlds are harmonizing. Tracking signs. Keep a journal of synchronicities. Over time, patterns emerge that reveal your unique activation sequence. The 1111 phenomenon. Many report seeing 1111 during spiritual awakenings. Numerologically, 11 is a master number associated with DNA strands. 2 helices times 11 equals 22, another master number. Awakening is not all bliss. As dormant DNA activates, the body often goes through a biochemical upheaval. Fatigue, flu-like symptoms, emotional purges. This is the dark night of the cell, where old programs are being wiped so new ones can install. Supporting the process. Hydrate heavily, structured water. Rest without guilt, and use grounding, walking barefoot earthing mats, to stabilize the nervous system. Trusting the intelligence. Your body knows exactly what it's doing. The chaos is not a malfunction. It's a recalibration. We stand at the precipice of a revelation so vast, so terrifyingly beautiful, that to fully grasp it would shatter the illusion of who you thought you were. This is not hyperbole. It is the inevitable conclusion of everything we've unraveled. The hidden code in your DNA is not some abstract mystery. It is you, the real you, the one that existed before time, the one that will outlast the collapse of galaxies. The ancients whispered of a coming age when humanity would remember its divinity. That age is now. And you, yes, you, reading these words, are part of the vanguard. For centuries, science and spirituality have been at odds, one dissecting the material world, the other pointing beyond it. But now, at the bleeding edge of quantum biology, epigenetics, and consciousness research, the two are merging into a single, undeniable truth. You are a god in chains. Your DNA is the lock and the key. The chains are not physical, they are perceptual, woven from the stories you've inherited, the traumas you've normalized, the limitations you've accepted as reality. But every insight you've gained from this exploration is a hammer strike to those chains. Moments of awakening are rarely comfortable. They feel like vertigo, the ground giving way beneath you as you realize the world is not what you were taught. Right now, you are standing on that threshold. You have two choices. 1. Retreat into the known. Close this book. Dismiss what you felt stirring in your cells. Return to the comfort of the familiar. The chains will tighten, but they'll feel like home. 2. Step into the fire. Accept that your life will never be the same. Commit to the daily practices that reactivate your code. Become a living bridge between the human and the divine. There is no middle path. Neutrality is an illusion. Every moment of inaction is still a choice to remain dormant. This is not about becoming enlightened in some detached, esoteric sense. This is about embodied mastery, using your recoded DNA to heal yourself in ways that defy medical dogma, manifest reality with the precision of a conscious creator, lead others. Not through preaching, but by being so alive, so radiant, that your mere presence awakens the code in their cells. The world is dying for lack of real humans, those who've remembered what they are. Will you be one of them? I leave you with one last truth, the key that turns all others. You are already whole. The DNA, the practices, the synchronicities, they're not giving you anything. They're stripping away what never belonged to you. The divine is not some distant peak to climb. It is the ground beneath your feet. Now, act from that knowing.